We'll begin momentarily. Excuse me, let me get this set up. We'll begin momentarily with our discussion of the film Superman 2 from 1980. So I look forward to this very much. And we'll begin in a moment. But first, let me just set up here. And if someone would be so kind enough to give me an indication about the sound, if it's okay, just please let me know. Thank you so much. Great. Clark, thank you so much. And thank you for that Instagram post yesterday. Thank you. Really appreciate it. It was really cool. Thank you. Zyrother, hello. Thank you so much. Matthew, it's nice to see you. Thank you. Great. We'll be talking about this. Sorry, just... live stream, yes. Yes, although Zyrother said live stream from the planet Houston. Yes. Yes. It's not from, what is it, Artemis 2, thank goodness. Yes. Oh, right. What's a curl, anyway? Anyway, yes. Chi, it's nice to see you again. Thank you so much, and thank you very much for your comments from that surprise live stream from a couple days ago. Thank you so much. Your comments and the super chat as well. Thank you. Gizmortar, hello. It's nice to see you. Matthew asks, "What am I drinking?" I'm drinking coffee. Coffee in the morning. It's what 7 a.m. here and 7:01 a.m. So it's a Sunday, so it's my day off. But I woke up a little after 6 today, but I'm still somewhat sleepy. So pardon me for the drink here. So again, we'll begin in, let's say, about a couple minutes here. So. And again, about Superman 2. This is the 1980 version, speaking about the version that is credited to director Richard Lester. Although, as you may know, it's quite a complex and perhaps somewhat involved and dramatic set of circumstances involving the production of this particular film. And perhaps because of that, what we are going to do is today we're talking about the Richard Lester the film Superman 2 1980, that version which was released and with Richard Lester as director, or the titles indicate Richard Lester as director, let's put it that way. And then next week, the same time, same place, next week, next Sunday, we will be talking about the now currently available, what's known as the Richard Donner cut, or the Richard Donner version of Superman 2, which is really to say there's a version where we could get a closer idea, or maybe a better sense as to what had been originally intended while Richard Donner was still planned to be the director of this film, Superman 2. He ended up parting ways with the production, let's put it that way, for a number of reasons, and you can get more information about that in a number of the behind-the-scenes and documentaries that are made available on a lot of these sets and a lot of the releases for Superman 2 and the Richard Donner cut, etc. But so the plan, however, today is Richard Lester directed Superman 2, this one that was released in 1980, and then next week we'll talk about the aforementioned Richard Donner cut. So today is the quote-unquote the theatrical version, or the one that had the wide release in 1980. And also, I'll get into this later, but we're not going to talk too much about the behind the scenes. That's not the point of today's discussion. It's going to be just a casual talk about this film, or this version of the film. So, all right. So I guess we can start in about a second here. Late night double feature picture show. Hello. It's nice to see you. Hope you're well, my friend. Mike Eli's here. Hello. Yes, it's nice to see you. Clark, you say, still love the iconic Superman theme. Such a great hype up to the film. Watching it back in the cinemas in the 80s would have been unreal. Yes. Um, let's see. Uh, let's see. Gizmortar says it's 11 p.m. here in the UK. Just finished watching it again. I must have seen it hundreds of times in my life, but I never realized until now that Richard Griffiths is one of the terrorists. Oh, yes, yes. And he says, it started. Yes. It's amazing too. There are so many of these faces that one doesn't recognize. Isn't that so cool how you can watch a film and suddenly you make these discoveries? You know, there's another person that appears a little bit later, and I didn't realize that he was in a film that I'd known for such a long time. I know maybe other people did. I just didn't catch it until somewhat later in my life. But yeah, it's. Um, Right, it's the one. It's me that controls the bomb, not the bomb that controls me. Right. So, or I don't know if I got that line exactly right, but yeah, yeah. All right, Oren is here. It's nice to see you. Jared is here. It's nice to see you. Eric is here. Nice to see you. Mix memorabilia. Oh, great to see you live. Wow. Braveheart. It's nice to see you. I hope you're well, my dear friend. Um, warmest regards to you as always, and to all of you, my dear friends. Warmest regards to all of you here. Thank you. Um, yeah, Clark says, I love how Clark just takes the hot dogs without paying. Yes, we're talking about, yes, his little, his little thing there at the Niagara Falls section. You're right. But anyway, just give me one more second here, and then we will be on our way to talking about Superman 2. So just give me one more second. Sorry about this. I'm still a little bit behind here. One. Okay. All right. So I think we're ready to go. If you're ready, then let us begin. Okay, so greetings from Tokyo, my dear friends. This is Daisuke, and I want to thank you once again for joining me today on this live stream discussion for the film, which is Superman 2, released in 1980. And this is directed by Richard Lester. So it's the sequel to the film Superman the movie, which we had talked about some weeks ago on another live stream. And so we're continuing the conversation on the Superman films featuring Christopher Reeve as Superman. So for today's discussion, I'd like to say once again that I just want to say a few things and then we'll get into the discussion proper, which is so first of all, this is meant to be a very casual discussion on this film or the version of this film, Superman 2. And I don't mean to, or I don't plan on going into all the specifics as far as the production details are concerned with regard to this work, but rather I want to focus on the film itself and want to focus on the aspects of the film and something like just maybe details of the film, plot details, character details, and the like. Again, from my perspective, and my perspective is not as an expert on the world of Superman or this film, but rather as someone who has seen Superman 2 for a number of times, many times since I was a little kid. So I'm going to approach this discussion from that perspective. So, in that spirit, my dear friends, please note that this will be talking about spoilers. So, I will be talking about spoilers today. So, excuse me. So, if you have not seen the film Superman 2, my strongest suggestion is to maybe turn off this live stream for now and you can watch the film in your time that is convenient to you, of course. And then you can always come back if you're still interested in a discussion on Superman 2. You can always come back anytime. This should be uploaded as a video after the fact as well. So please, you can come back anytime you want after you've seen the film. Also, my dear friends, the live chat is available for people to make their comments. I'll do my best to talk about, I'll do my best to address everyone and to say hello to everyone. If I miss your name, I apologize in advance. I don't mean anything by it. It's just, I'm trying my best to catch everyone, but if I miss someone, it's just because of my eyes, which are getting older and older. So I tend to miss things more and more as I'm getting on in years, as it were. So please forgive me in advance, but I will try my best to say hello to everyone. And also, if you have any comments or questions for me regarding this film, that's please feel free to do so, and I'll in the chat, and I'll try to address them as well. Please note that I will be focusing my energies today on Superman 2 related stuff. So if you have any non-Superman related questions, then or comments, then I might just skip over those comments today, if you don't mind. You can always leave those comments or questions to me in the form of maybe other video comments, etc. And I'll do my best to respond to those in due course. Also, please note that the internet is a wonderful thing. It can also be a somewhat maybe how should I put it? It can be somewhat a place where maybe there might be disagreements, and maybe those disagreements might turn into things that are not always the most pleasant conversations around. Let me put it that way. So, my strong. I strongly encourage discussion, and I strongly encourage debate and disagreement. And I also remind everyone that there's nothing inherently wrong with disagreements. Disagreements, I think, and debates are strong, and they're wonderful, and they're very healthy. And so, anyone who expresses any type of disagreement with anything I say or with anything anyone else says, you're very welcome to do so. Please do so. It's I want to make it as open as possible, and in that spirit, of course, I also want to. I hope that people will when they're talking and when they're expressing comments and even disagreements, that at the end of the day we can all still be cordial and friendly to each other. And so I think there's always a way to express disagreement while still respecting other people's opinions. And so I always am so grateful because I have been very fortunate in that people have struck this type of tenor and tone in the discussions that take place during these live streams. So thank you so much, as always, for continuing to proceed in that really lovely manner. I look upon that and I always learn something new every day in how you conduct yourselves and how you are so nice to each other. Even when there is disagreement, you are still, at the end of the day, still willing to talk to each other. So thank you so much for continuing that line of conversation. And I wouldn't be able to do this YouTube channel or these live stream chats without you, my dear friends. So thank you so much for that. And always thank you for looking out for me and looking out for the channel and the best interests of the channel. I'm always appreciative of that, my dear friends. Thank you in advance for that. All right, so I think if without further ado, then let us go into a discussion of this film. But before that, let me just quickly say hello to people in the chat who have joined or beginning to join. So let's see, Brian. Brian Riel is here. Hello, nice to see you. Let's see. Okay. All right. Blah blah is here. Hello, nice to see you. Dan is here. Nice to see you. Timothy is here. Nice to see you. Um, as it turns out, you can't say it's okay, Timothy. Not a problem. Kneel before Zod is my favorite quote. Yes, Gizmord. There's talk here. Brian opened the floor about which version is preferable. Great. Thank you very much for that question. Matt Flaherty is here. Hello. You say I saw this movie in the movie theater when I was young, but I haven't had time to watch it in the past 2 weeks. Hope you don't mind. No, I don't mind at all. Not, that's fine. You saw it in the movie theater. I'm so jealous. I was never able to see Superman 2 in the theater, so well done. Oh, Cooper Glover, our dear friend, is here. Hello. Chi, you say Terrence Stamp is a legend. And let's see. Gizmorder says hyped for Daisuke's non-impressions. Should I give you one little non? Okay, so I again, I'm not good with my non-impressions, but let's see. Okay, here's my little kind of maybe tissue or bandana here. So this is a burnt snake, right? And then here we go. So okay, this is my so that's my non-impression for the burnt snake bit. So I'll try to make up some more or come up with more as I go along. But anyway, uh, all right. Oh, Davy Dredd is here. Hello. Katerina is here. Hello. Bonjour, mon cher. Oh, bonjour. Comment allez-vous? Let's see. All right. So. And all right, so let us continue on. So if I oh Jack is here, hello. Sorry, I almost skipped you. Apologize for that, my dear friend. Did I skip anyone? I hope I didn't. If I skipped you by accident, just say something again, and I'll try to catch you later in the discussion. But first, let's go right into it. Superman 2. So just a quick intro. I saw Superman 2 again growing up in the 80s. I've mentioned it before. I'll say it again. I was born in 79, so I grew up in the 80s and the VHS rental generation, as in a manner of speaking. And part of that was Superman 2. Don't remember seeing it in the theater when it was originally released. I would have probably been maybe too young to have gone to the theater at that particular point. But when it was released soon after that, in those, if I remember correctly, it was those I don't know what the name of it is, but those VHS cases, clamshell, I think, with the kind of thick, almost pillow-like covering, for the VHS boxes. And so, and I seem to remember too, if I remember, if my memory is not incorrect, that clamshell was maybe had a kind of orangish color to it, if I remember correctly. But in any event, yes, Superman 2. And the back of the box, one of the pictures was Ursa kicking Superman during that Fortress of Solitude game. The that part of the game. So, and then it's which one is the real Superman, which one is the illusion Superman, and she's kicking him. So it's one of those pictures, if I remember, was her kicking Superman, or it was a fake Superman. And I hope I got that detail right. So, and then it's just been. And I knew nothing at the time about all this stuff about what happened with Richard Donner, what happened with the Salkinds, what was going on with the dual productions of Superman, Superman 2, and then the kind of fallout with that and the replacement, and do nothing about that. But when I saw the film, I could I'd always thought, oh, Margot Kidder looks a little bit different here, or even General Zod looks a little bit different. You know what I mean? So, or there would always be those differences that you could kind of catch, but I never really put them together until much later, as I was older, and all these details began to emerge publicly about the production and leading up to, say, years later, many years after the original release of that release version of Superman 2, you got the Richard Donner cut. And so we'll get to those details next week, as I say, when we continue this conversation next week, but that time about the Richard Donner cut itself. But suffice to say, so I had no idea about this, so I just was focusing on the film. And with that, I have so much fun with this film, Superman 2. I think it's great. I think it has that sense of the grand and the myth and the legend. There's also some how should I put it? Some very emotional scenes involving Kal-El and his, say, growth and his sort of emotional maturity, or road to emotional maturity, in a manner of speaking, which involves, of course, his relationship with Lois Lane, which is a very important part of this. And of course, the emergence of, or the return, in a manner of speaking, because you saw them at the beginning of the earlier film, Superman, which is, of course, I'm speaking of Zod, Ursa, and Non, and their return, and then the ultimate confrontation between these survivors of the planet Krypton. and of course the famous Battle of Metropolis and all this, and then all the stuff that happens here. So I have so much fun with this. I won't today be talking about any type of comparison here between this film and what later was real or was revealed in terms of the emergence of the Richard Donner version, or the concept, the Richard Donner concept. So I won't be doing any comparisons, but let me just focus on this film and how I feel about it. And so this is my way to say that I enjoy this film very much, and for a long time it was almost on par with me with the original, and sometimes I would think, oh, maybe it's better than the original. I don't know. Nowadays, or in recent years, I tend to if I had to choose between the two, I would have to say maybe it's Superman the movie. But this has always been a fun film for me, and I enjoyed it immensely, and I'll try to explain the reasons why over the course of this discussion. But I might just go all over the place in advance. So if I'm a bit scattered in terms of my my discussion of this film, then I really apologize. But let us go into this proper. But one more time here, let me go into the chat. And so FP9623 is here. Oh, I'm doing well. Thank you so much. Thank you. Um, Mike Eli says it's not an official live stream until the impressions start. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Again, I'm not so okay. I guess the one that I've been oh gosh, there's the little boy in the town that they visit, and when he's got General Zod has says, these humans are beginning to bore me, and the guy's floating in the space in the air there, and then the little boy says, "Oh, please, please, Mister." He's a general. Please, Mister General, please put my daddy down. So suddenly there's this. It's a very interesting thing with the little boy there. But anyway, I don't know if I could do the impression of the. Maybe I just did, and it was just really terrible right now. But anyway. Oh. Um. Anyway, sorry about that. Here's my General Zod impression at the very end when he's got, take my hand and swear eternal loyalty to Zod. And then Superman just takes a breath, and he takes his hand as he's kneeling, right? And then suddenly you hear that. Here's my Zod. So that's my General Zod impression when he gets his hand crushed at the end there in the Fortress of Solitude. So, all right. So, let's see. Supersonic Man is here. Vern Griffiths is here. Thank you. And Gizmortar says some of my earliest memories are not just films, but anything. Wow. Are of watching this film. It's a special film for me for sure. She says the Superman movies, I gotta say, look so dated now. Let's see, Supersonic Man. Remember seeing this in the cinema when I was 11. Todd is here. Todd Newby is here. I saw Superman and Superman 2 in the theater. They both played at the $1 theater, so my parents really splurged and paid $4 for all four of us to go. Very cool indeed. Cooper Clever says probably they couldn't hire Brando due to money, maybe, so they hired Superman's mother for the Fortress of Solitude. Oh, so if you're interested in why Marlon Brando probably doesn't appear in terms of his visits and there are some specific details about that. If you can check the behind the scenes details about why he didn't appear, so there is a reason for that. That has to do with the kind of fallout that occurred with the production there. But yeah, you're right. So the mother, Laura, appears instead as the keeper of the archives of Krypton, as she refers to herself. And also the guys, when she's right, the trees, right? I like trees, so does your average Cocker Spaniel, according to Lex Luthor there. All right, and Sheridan is here. Hello, it's nice to see you. Let's see. Let's see. 400 blows. Oh, thank you so much. And Superman 1 is the best, worst films of the time. Oh, that's interesting. Superman 2 is a vast improvement in my opinion. Oh, that's very interesting. Thank you so much. Thank you. And thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it. Omesh is here. Thank you so much. Thank you. Um, Late night double feature picture show says I saw this in the theater at an 8 p.m. showing, loved it, and right back online to see it again at midnight showing. Oh, it's very cool. I love Zod, and Gets Mortar says I love Zod's line. Who is this imbecile? Yes, he says when E.G. Marshall, president with that great hair, by that E.G. Marshall president hair. Wow, wow. He says there is one man who won't kneel before you, and then Zod says, "Who is this imbecile? Where is he? I wish I knew. Oh God, Zod." Yes, yes, I remember that. That's the part, right, you're referring to, right, Gizmortar? Yeah. So all right, so let's get into it, right? So we have the intro and uh we have the sort of what's previously on Superman, we have that that part in the beginning with Krypton and the three criminals, and these arch criminals, as Laura will put it later, and a sort of a repeat of this the stuff that we saw in the first film, Superman. Let's rework slightly, I think, to make sure that, for instance, Marlon Brando doesn't appear, but also just for maybe the sake of maybe a concise just reminder of what happened, the events of what happened in the previous film, which were the three of these characters, Ursa, Non, and Zod. Are first, they're there, and we find the little flashback of the alert da, 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 pew, and it turns into dust powder or whatever, so some crystal was destroyed, but then suddenly you have these super powerful hula hoops that come and capture them. So again, watch out if you're on Krypton. Just if you see some hula hoops around, right, just walk the other way immediately. Don't go anywhere near any hula hoops, because you're in for some trouble if you get near any hula hoops on Krypton. But in any event, so we have a reenactment of that and their trial, and of course the opening of the big dome and this flipping mirror thing, which we will understand later. Is I don't think there was any specific reference to the Phantom Zone in the theatrical version, say, of Superman the movie, if I recall correctly. But here we have a specific reference to the Phantom Zone, and Lara speaking about when Lex Luthor and Miss Tessmacher are at the Fortress of Solitude, and they find the crystal, and they find the crystal with Lara's discussion of the three of them. So about how they were essentially punished for all eternity to the Phantom Zone. I mean, talk about cruel and unusual punishment, right? And also talk about a sense of irony. They were punished in this way, and yet not some moments later was Krypton itself destroyed. So yeah, talk about a sense of irony. But in any event, yes, we have the three of these characters, and then they're trapped, and then they're transported into this mirror thing, and then we have a reworking of that, so the dialogue is a little bit different. We hear the voice of not Jor-El, of Zod, says, "You will bow down before me, Jor-El, both you and then one day. You're right." And then here the credits go into the some scenes showing us again what happened in the first film. So I think it's a really good recap of what goes on with the music. Again, it's not John Williams, it's himself, but it's Ken Thorne reworking or based his music based upon the original theme by John Williams. So that's another interesting detail about the production, the very almost, let's say, fractured production details. And we also notice that but the music is back, and it's a very recognizable theme, so that's also something of an interesting sort of connection. And then the title credits too, the font, the flying font, that's back as well, and the icon, the insignia, the Superman, the S, and we'll get a lot of the S's here in this film, right? Especially at the very end with the great dun 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 dun. Dun. The super S flying with the plastic thing and hitting Non there, but and we'll talk about that as well. I don't know what your thoughts about that big plastic S power, but Wow, when I was a kid when I saw it, that was really cool. I thought, oh, such a cool superpower. But um, anyway, uh, before I forget, I'm sorry, I'm going all over the place. But after he throws the flying S at Non, poor Non, and Non's like, "Ugh, what? Like he's like, he's like he's I think he's just as stunned as we all are at that particular moment. He's like, what the heck just happened? I think we're all asking that question. Like, what the heck just? What did I just see? But I'm not a big expert in the comics, so maybe that was something that appeared in the comics, and just it was a detail that I'm not aware of. But I thought that was really cool. But then I think Zod at that moment he realized that, oh my goodness, that plastic S power is really, really strong. So then maybe he was thinking in his head, we've got to combine our strengths. And that's why he says at that point, we must combine our strengths, and then do their little finger beam, and then we've got Christopher Reeve. And I love the sound, that sound that he's making as he's trying to push them back. You notice that little, and he manages to withstand their three force powers. But in any event, what was I saying about that? Oh yeah, so the S does appear also in the credit sequence, and then of course we go into the introduction here. Um, it's we got the wonderful the reuse of the footage. That same guy is walking in front of the Daily Planet building. The guy with that kind of red and that maybe plaid red shirt or something. And there's all the fruit, the grocer stand out there. You don't right tomatoes, and if you want a tomato or something, or watermelon, or some lettuce or cabbage or something, you can just go right outside the Daily Planet building, and voila, it's right there. It's really cool. Also oranges too, if you want oranges, I suppose, where there's a lot of orange juice, right, freshly squeezed, right? So but we have the plot, of course, that goes into um uh why am I forgetting? Uh, oh yes, the Eiffel Tower sequence. And so we have the introduction of the office, and Louine and Clark. Speaking of Clark Kent, I mentioned it last week or 2 weeks ago. Superman. There's this interesting maybe way in which you can say Superman films have these links to James Bond films, and it's really cool because you have the bit here where he's walking in. It's one cut, and he throws the hat, and it hits the coat hanger there. Oh, it's so cool! What a great shot! Clark Kent is amazing here. And then we have the introduction here with Perry White and Jimmy Olsen, and the plot about the terrorists in Paris and the Eiffel Tower. They have hostages, and they claim to have a hydrogen bomb. And of course, you're right. Does Clark know about it? Oh no, and he was he doesn't like television, too much violence. He was at home reading Dickens, and so when he hears about this terrorist plot from Perry White and Jimmy Olsen, he says, "Oh, Jesus writes that's terrible, right?" And Perry White, that's why they call them terrorists, Kent. So, um, and he also reveals, right, that Margot Kidder's Lois Lane is already dispatched to Paris, and it's a very dangerous situation. But maybe his intrepid reporter Lois Lane, you're good, Kent, but the Lois Lane is better. Oh no, no, isn't that dangerous, right? But he says, if I know Lois Lane, not only she'll come back with a interview with a hydro bomb called "What Makes Me Tick" or something like that. And then, of course, that means that gives Clark just enough time to do his to go out. It's interesting too. Clark Kent leaves the office of Perry White, but he doesn't decide to change in the office, right? He decides to go down to the ground floor of the building, get out of the building. I would assume that it would take time to use the elevator or the stairs or something. Why doesn't he change in maybe one of the restrooms at the Daily Planet office? But anyway, I'm sorry, but he goes down. It's still enough time, I suppose. He goes down, goes into a side alley there, and then he does a little running thing. And he does. Our dear friend Seth Walsh from the previous Superman the movie discussion was mentioning that scene when he's going through the revolving doors, and he changes into Superman. He was saying, "What happened to his Clark Kent clothes? What happened to them?" Same thing here. What happened to his clothes as he runs from one side of the screen to the other and becomes Superman and flies off. I wonder whether maybe he was so fast in changing, maybe he put them somewhere in the alley there, and he'll pick them up when he comes back to Metropolis or something. But in any event, he transforms into Superman. And he flies off. Pursuit in Paris here. In the meantime, of course, Lois Lane is in Paris, showing us her great skills in French. And I'm not. I studied French in high school, but I'm not in any way fluent. I don't know. I don't know. I'm a very poor speaker when it comes to the French language. So, but she does say. I think her words are. They are apropos or on point. She says "merci, merci" to the taxi with the Dalmatian there, which is really cool. The Dalmatian, and then excuse me, there's a there's the revelation. Excuse me, about the hydrogen bomb. Hydrogen bomb, are you sure? And of course, the authorities are not sure at the moment, but she, of course, reveals to them and then thus reveals to all here, to us, at the viewers, that the hydrogen bomb is so dangerous it could destroy all of Paris. And I said, and then she tries to get up there. And I love the bit when I was a kid, I didn't understand French, but then after, as I say, in high school, I studied a little bit. And so, uh, moi, je suis, what is it? No, I'm sorry, what does she say? Journaliste, moi, journaliste américaine. And she's trying to communicate with the police officer, the French police officer. And then, qu'est-ce que c'est le mot pour, what is it? Stairs, stairs. And then that's the distraction for her to go off through the police blockade, and while she's distracting the officer, that young officer with the French English dictionary, or the English French dictionary, I suppose. And so he's looking through it, and he says, "Stairs, stairs, S-T-A, mademoiselle." So I was always when I was always, because that's very prominent on the soundtrack, on the I guess, what is it, the voices on the soundtrack there, S T S T A. So those of you who know French, right, these are the letters S-T-A. So I was assumed that if we were to stay there with that young officer, he would have gone up. What is it? S-T-A-I-E-L-S. So that's stairs. So he would have found out. Um, well, anyway, so and that stuck with me because later, when I was taking high school French, one of the things you have to do is you have to memorize the alphabet in French. And so when it came to the letters, S-T, I said, "Oh, this is from Superman 2. That's right." So, okay. So anyway, again, thank Superman 2 for my, Superman 2, I guess we can say, is one of the reasons why I was able to get fairly good grades in my high school French classes, I suppose. So thank you very much. So I owe Superman 2 very much. So anyway. Yes, so then, of course, this Paris. Incidentally, too, while all this is going on, we have Superman flying from Metropolis to Paris, which is a curious thing, of course, because in the previous film, you'd think that Superman would be able to get there faster, because in the previous film, after all, he was able to fly so fast. Right, when he was doing this with the Earth and the rotation of the Earth, of course, he was able to fly so fast, right? So you'd think that, and the image of the Earth at the time was one where got from one side of the planet to the other side of the planet in no time at all. So you'd think if he could use the same, or even close to the same speed that he employed when he was doing that thing with the Earth, if he'd employ the same level of speed to get from Metropolis to Paris, you would have gone there almost immediately. But oh well. Oh, I know it's a movie. I know it's meant to generate suspense and everything. So and maybe the thing that we saw him do with the spinning Earth thing, maybe that took a lot of energy, and so maybe that's something that he doesn't usually have in the gas tank, as it were. So maybe that's something that was a special burst of energy at the time. But here, it's something that is not ordinarily available to him. But in any event, so Superman, we see shots of Superman flying, da 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 da, and then all the thing with the terrorists and the bomb and the talking. There's the one guy talking to the nun, and he says, "You're being released, so shut up," or something. So and while Lois Lane is trying to go up the stairs and then get under the elevator there, and she's trying to spell. She gets her purse caught in the hook there. She's trying to spell a Pulitzer Prize and a Nobel Prize and Nobel N-O-B what capital N, little O, little B, little E, little L, L, L Nobel Prize, capital, right. There's right the we have Margot Kidder once again as Lois Lane, and once again I'm so smitten when it comes to Margot Kidder and Lois Lane. So smitten indeed. So whenever she appears on the screen, I'm just it's very hard for me to concentrate. So, but and I know there are some. I know there's some very maybe differences in terms of how she looks in some scenes versus how she looks in other scenes. I totally get that, and that's true for other characters as I mentioned. But in any event, it's always nice to see Lois Lane here, and she's doing what she does best, which is this intrepid journalism, and she's really great, and she's willing to put herself in a very risky and dangerous situation in order to get that story. So, potentially Pulitzer Prize winning story here. So, but of course, it's a very dangerous situation, right? So um, they almost hear her. Shit, sounds like someone moving underneath this. And, no, it's her mind acting up or something. So she almost got caught, but she was still okay. Um, and of course, while all this is going on, the authorities, the local authorities, are trying their best to solve the situation, and so they do an attack, a sudden attack, in terms of the letting loose of the, I guess, the current or the electricity or the controls of the elevator, which causes the elevator to suddenly just shoot down the shaft, which means that the terrorists who have control of the bomb lose control, such that the switch is ignited. And we understand it's about, what is it? It's a 60-second timer, I think. And so we have them after this happens. Oh, it started. Oh, right. And of course, the bomb is in the elevator, and so it's just falling from the top of the Eiffel Tower. That's shooting down, right? With that scene there, that's a really powerful scene. I remember that. And then, of course, while at the same time, Superman arrives just on time, and he goes from underneath, and then goes right up through the middle of the shaft of the elevator shaft of the Eiffel Tower, and then right. Oh, and again, I love this bit. I love how the films here in the Superman series, they show the physics and the weight of the thing. Superman is, of course, someone with superpowers. I understand that, but when he grabs onto it, you can see. I love Christopher Reeve's performance for a lot of things, but he shows us the weight of this, and you see it in his face. And his smile, I believe this is your floor. And I love the right. That's Lois. Oh, there's enough. It's a 60-second timer, so but there's just enough time for them to. Oh, a bomb! And he said, I know, a bomb is right. And he goes da 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 da. Right, it goes off, and then da 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 da, and flies and destroys the top of the Eiffel Tower and goes through, and he flies off into space with the elevator. And I love the bit where he's flying so fast, and you see the shot from the side, and he's flying, and he lets go, and he goes da 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 da. Da, da, da. I love that shot. That's such a cool shot. He's like going like this. That he's trying to stop his momentum while letting the momentum of the elevator go into space. Ah, it's such a cool shot. And then you see it fly, and then boom, right. And then of course, wow, what perfect timing, of course, because while all this is happening, what should be happening to be flying nearby but the Phantom Zone flipping mirror? With our three characters, and then da 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 da, and then we have that cool bit where one of the shock waves of the explosion hits the mirror and it's going pew, and it starts glowing, pew, and it explodes. Pew. Oh, that's such a when I was a kid, I was like, oh my gosh, that's such a cool shot. And they flew out, the three of them. And I love the bit too where Superman was also hit by the shockwave, and so he flies off maybe, and he goes like "Doo, doo, doo," and he tries to recover, "Doo," and he flies off into the light, shoom, while of course he didn't notice that the three of them are now flying about, and you have their. I love too the sort of the black, I guess it's leather or the shiny black material of their clothing, how it looks and it reflects in space, the darkness of space. It just, there's such a cool, creepy element to it. And of course, the music is very ominous, which is a verse, again, the reminder of the similar music or same or similar music that was used in in the first film. And so we have now the three of them flying off to the moon. And I love the three, and I love how it's Zod and Ursa flying, and then Non is flying close behind. You see Non kind of shaky a little bit. He's doing that with his flying, so maybe he's almost not quite used to flying him. Oh, that's so cool. And they're off to the moon, of course. So what's going to happen? Oh my goodness! Now the stage is set for some pretty heavy fireworks indeed. And I'll go to live chat too. But before I forget, I should say too that this also means that, hold on, gosh, we also have to mention too. Um, what is it? We have to mention too the other plot point that's revealed here, which is well, actually two more important plot points that are revealed here, and we'll get to the live chat. So first of all, orange juice, freshly squeezed. This is very important. And this, right, the Clark Kent, he doesn't know what a crosswalk is, I suppose, because he's always going like this, trying to cross the road. Yeah, that's, when you see the taxi is actually hitting him, it just destroys the taxi, I suppose. No one seemed to notice that, I said, but anyway, that poor guy. But that taxi driver appears in the Battle of Metropolis later, and he says, right, it's the same guy later, and he said, "Man, this is gonna be good." And you've got all this dirt on his windshield, but he seems to become a supporter of Superman now. But in any event, when Clark Kent crosses the street, and he does this with one of the cars, so. Every now and again, when I'm crossing the street, even at a pedestrian crosswalk or something, the cars will be stopped, but I'll still go like this sometimes. Not with a grand gesture, but just a little bit. Again, in honor of this moment of Superman 2. And of course, right, Lois says, you've got to be more careful. You got to look both ways, right? And then the scene with the freshly squeezed orange juice maker. You take the oranges in half, and you put them in the thing and squeeze them. And Clark Kent squeezes his thumb. And we see that thing with she gets her exercise this way while putting out the cigarette, which is a great cut there. And of course, she's giving him advice. You should be more assertive. You should go for it. And to Clark, and Clark is still obviously very much in love with Lois Lane. Lois Lane at this point doesn't know that Clark Kent and Superman are one and the same person yet, but here she firmly puts him in the friend zone. Oh my goodness! And I love the bit where, he says, "Friends, huh?" I mean, can you make it more obvious? When you say, oh, "What are friends?" Or, "Oh, friends, huh?" Like if, oh my goodness. But anyway, and then here's the friendship. Talk about putting someone in the friend zone. But anyway, that's one bit. And then the other bit too is, of course, where is Luthor? Lex Luthor. Where's Otis? Right, life plus 25 to get to work, and so they already have. There are many things going on. The Liberace record with the scratch on it, and the little black box on our cell. Oh, yes, and then of course, right. What's the importance of the little black box? It tracks alpha waves. And I love Otis. I've mentioned Otis before. Oh gosh, I wish my heart breaks for Otis in this film, actually, because what happens to him and everything. You know, it's what Miss Tessmacher's. How could you do that to Otis? And indeed, but here we have Otis talking, and when Lex tells him about the little black box and the alpha waves, I love Otis here. He says, "Oh, alpha waves," and Lex Luthor, because he knows that it's something to do with the North, and somehow Superman is attracted to, or there's something in the North that maybe might hold the secret to Superman. So, of course, Lex Luthor is another element that we have to keep an eye on while all this chaos is ensuing in the world of Superman 2. But in any event, yes, lots going on already. Now, before I go back to more discussion of the film, let me go to the live chat here, and then we'll be on our way. Yes, she mentions, yes, Gene Hackman here. Yes. Late night double feature. Picture show says, why, you know, he says the line, you know, "Why do you say this to me when you know I will kill you for it?" Yes. Kill me, Lex Luthor. Extinguish the greatest criminal mind of our age. Right? Rather get the one, kill him. Superman's address. Come, the three of us will crush the son of our jailer. Why don't we increase this handicap? Right, so what does he say? Let us take his favorite. And Lois Lane, don't ever sleep. If you're on the back of Non, don't ever go to sleep, okay? Because what's gonna happen? You're gonna fall off, okay? So don't ever sleep if you're on the back of Non, right? So that's both. That's you know what I just did. That's an impression of both Lois Lane and Non at the same time during that scene when they're flying. Right. So don't ever sleep. If you're ever on the back of Non, don't ever sleep. Just stay awake. Stay awake. Okay. Anyway, yes. Yes. Just scrolling down. Oh, Cooper Clever 72 says, Daisuke, I thought that it was kind of weak showing scenes from the first film for the intro of the film. I think they should just start where the first one left off. Oh, yes, that's a good point. Although I think it's nice to have a recap of things that happened. It's very brief, and it's also just because it's it is the opening credits as well, so it's also a reminder of things that happen. Yeah, because Mortis is. It's a shame that Otis doesn't make it in the. Yeah, Otis is loyal to the very end. Right. They wanted, but right. Oh, Otis. Oh, it's sinking. Right, we're sinking. Get off. Get off. Yeah. And I like when the dogs are around. So, Otis, an ode to Otis. Anyone out there an Otis fan like me? I love Otis. Oh gosh. Um, what one of the great characters. Oh, Otis is one. Miss Tessmacher too. Love Miss Tessmacher. You know the thing about Miss Tessmacher is, she has she's very resourceful, and you can see that this whole thing with the hot air balloon escape was, I think, her idea. Lex knew, I think, that she was gonna help them escape, but I don't think she, right. I think this was this was her idea. So well done, Miss Tessmacher. And indeed, a little bit later, when they go to they mush, I am mushing, right, to the north, the fortress, north. Right, that's north, and then they enter into the Fortress of Solitude. She has she's the one who notices, right, don't touch it. Oh, it's ice. It looks like a crystal. She's the one that mentions that. So, I think she's very observant. She's very smart. And she's very resourceful. So Miss Tessmacher, right? South, Miss Tessmacher, and yeah. By the way, so the guard or the warden, right? What is it? 381 out, 382 out, 383 out, 384 out. What is it? 385 out. So that guy is, am I right? That guy's gold leader, right? In Star Wars, right? So that's gold leader. Lights out, Luthor, right? So, right. Here, okay, here's my gold leader impression from Star Wars. Okay. Okay. Um, switch to targeting computer. How many guns do you think? Gold 5? Say about 20 guns. Some on the surface, some on the turret. Death Star being range and oh, sorry. So that's my Star Wars but for the Star Wars discussion will be for another day. So anyway, so that's Gold Leader, right? So that's really cool. That's really cool indeed. So Gold Leader and Chancellor Valorum are in the same film. Wow, that's really cool. So very cool indeed. Anyway, all right. Let's see. Rob Max says, will we be discussing the various extended TV cuts that aired throughout the mid 80s? It would be nice to see those cuts, I think, officially released. I don't think, as of now, my understanding, there haven't been any official releases. I think if we're talking about what we can see in official releases, we can see, of course, the deleted scenes that can be seen in some of the official releases. So you can see some of what is part of that, those scenes. In particular, the ones that I always liked were what happened at the end of the Fortress of Solitude scenes, right? So those are very famous kind of extended sequences, as it were. They're not even in is my understanding, they're not even in the Richard Donner release, but you can see them in the deleted scene. So that's that. Yeah, we won't be talking about those specifically here, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Because Mortis, I want my Liberace record back tonight. Yeah, yeah, it's got a scratch on it. You know, that's really interesting. It's an interesting detail that when we get to the Richard Donner, I said I wouldn't be comparing these, but we'll get to the Richard Donner conversion. Like, there's a really interesting detail with that moment. I think if I'm if someone, why does he say it's got a scratch on it? Does he say because he caused the scratch, or does he say because it was given to him on loan in the state that it already had a scratch on? Who was responsible for the scratch? Was it him or was it Luther? I don't know. That's one of the great mysteries of this film. I'll never figure out. But and let's see. Right, late night double feature show. Yes. How could you do that to Otis? And Luther says, "Yeah, what else is ballast for?" Yeah. Oh my goodness. But Otis, loyal to the very end. Loyal to the very end. I love Otis so much. All right. Alpha waves. Yes. Let's see. G, Mr. Luthor. Yes. All right. Sorry about this. Scrolling down here. All right. Okay. Sorry. Scrolling down. Sorry. Oh, the chat does this to me. The chat window does this. I just scroll down and suddenly jumps to the very end. So, scrolling down. And then we'll go, let's see. So I'm skipping over a number of great comments here. Rob Mack says, Hackman is great. I agree. All of his footage for Superman 1 and 2 was shot in one block. Right? Yes. You see it, right? The body double, right? In the Lester footage. Hey, ever hear of parachutes? One small step. And there's a really, speaking of that moment, I'm sorry, I'm just going all over the place, but in the Fortress of Solitude sequence at the very end, when they arrive with, I guess, the body double of Gene Hackman, we're going to call it with the, right? It's so conveniently shot from behind, so you never see his face, right? So, hey, ever hear of parachute? Yeah, so that part, right? And you see parts of him climbing around. There's one part where he is like upside down, or his head, like, and he's just, for whatever reason, he's climbing and his head is on the bottom, his feet are on the, and he's just like, you see Lex Luthor. How does he do? What's going on? How did he climb in that way to have his head on the bottom there? I don't know, but oh gosh. Anyway, that was such a weird detail, really weird. But so okay, sorry about that. Okay. Oh, she's talking about the right at the diner, right? Right there, right? Right. Oh, I've been um working out. Yes. So and that motion there, I think, for those who know workouts, I think that that's a narrow grip bench press, I think, or it's a shoulder press. So he's either talking about his shoulders or he's talking about maybe his triceps, but in any event, or maybe tricep, shoulder, or maybe upper chest workout. But in any event, yes, very impressive indeed. Um, okay. Let's see. Scrolling down. So I'm just scrolling down here. Vern Griffiths. Yes. Thank you. Okay. All right. Sorry about this. Okay. I'll pick up the chat later, but let me go to the moon sequence, which is one of the scariest sequence, right? Which is the introduction, really, of these of the three criminal elements and their utter disregard for life and their discovery of their own powers too. Right, so we got this, I guess, this joint space mission on the moon, a joint U.S. Soviet mission, cooperation mission, and all the astronauts are just killed in this really frightening way. It's really quite scary because they are very vulnerable in the vacuum of space, and with their spacesuits, and if their spacesuits are punctured or they're just flying off, then they're doomed for they're doomed. And so we see two examples of this: the guy, just a man, and or a man. She tries to reach for this thing, and of course she's marveling a little bit later about how strange. I tore those metal fibers like paper. And what he did was amazing. Something is happening. I love Sarah Douglas's performance there, the way that she's speaking and her intonation and the sharpness of her words. It's really quite remarkable. And her eyes, they're very alert. And I love that. And any fans of the film Conan the Destroyer? Oh, wow. Conan the Destroyer. I love that. Oh, gosh. Um, Oh God, that was another film I saw on a loop as a kid, many on a VHS recording, EP mode, recorded off of TV, but many years ago. But uh, excuse me. But what was I saying? What was I? Yeah. So there's that scene, which is very frightening. The guy, and I think, to add insult to injury, I think she kicks him in the groin, and he just flies off like an inflated balloon ball into space, assumingly to die. Very terrible death. And same thing too with the Russian cosmonaut. I think, right? Zod picks him up by the leg and just, what a right, delicate form of life form this is, and just kicks him and just flies off and pulls his lifeline. Very frightening. And then the guy in the ship there, and the poor guy is like, on this claustrophobic wave. It's really quite frightening as Nan is just shaking the thing, and of course a little bit later we have the discussion with Zod, and Zod understanding that the yellow sun. As they get closer to the planet with only one sun, a yellow sun, the more our molecular density gives them unlimited powers. And so they come from there, a place called Houston, and we will go there to rule. Sorry. They come from there, a place called Houston. And then Zod, we will go there to rule, finally, to rule. The two flags flown off to the junk pile there. And if you notice too, I can't do it because I'm not so flexible as Terrence Stamp is. But Terrence Stamp, when he's thinking on the moon, he does this thing where he puts his arm behind his back. And so can you see that? Sorry, maybe I should stand up. Maybe just extend it. So he puts his left arm is behind his back, and he puts his hand. You see that? He goes like that, and he's thinking. I thought I was a cool. I was when I was younger. I was more flexible than I am now, and I was able to do that. And I think someone said to me, "What are you doing, Daisuke?" I said, "Oh, this is from Superman 2," and they didn't get it because I think they didn't see the film Superman 2. But I thought that was such a cool detail about how Zod's thinking about why they have superpowers. And he gets it right too, because that's the whole theory of why Superman has his powers, and that's the reason why Jor-El chose this place for his little son Kal-El to land and grow up. So even as his wife Laura is sort of debating why she's making that choice. But at any rate, yes. um, and of course, we have, I mentioned too, the escape of Luther and Miss Tessmacher. I'm sorry, by the assistance of Miss Tessmacher. Otis doesn't make it. While all that's going on, the discovery of the Fortress of Solitude, or their discovery of the Fortress of Solitude, which will happen a little bit later. Then we go to, of course, the Niagara Falls sequence. And someone mentioned that really, of course, Lois and Clark are there to investigate the kind of these hotels, which are apparently scamming and ripping off all these young newlywed couples for all the money that they can get. So that's one of the human interest stories that Perry White has them on, the mission or the story on. And so Lois is a little bit irritated by this, but Clark is trying to make the best of a maybe somewhat awkward situation. And you've got that really annoying bellhop there, and I guess the bellhop kind of knows maybe that they aren't really who they say they are, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, right? So and he's got the real polyester and the thing with the pull with the flames and here's the bed. Yes. Oh gosh, it's alive, right? So that part there. So that was and Clark being Clark, he's still trying to make, as I say, make the best of an awkward situation, and right, just giving Lois the corsage and just trying to be nice. And so it's nice to see that that part of it, because this was going to lead to the very important sequence in the Niagara Falls, right? And let's get to the Niagara Falls sequence. Right? And someone mentioned it too. First of all, why? What is it with? Maybe can we assume maybe that Clark? Let's just assume that off camera, off screen, Clark paid for those hot dogs. Let's just put it that way. So I can't imagine Clark taking those hot dogs without paying for it. I can't imagine that. That's just so unfathomable to me. But anyway, so there's that, and right, but he forgot the orange juice. So he has to go back and get the orange. But no orange juice. So and there's the boy. So I don't know how I don't know how Niagara Falls is right now, but that is a pretty dangerous setup if you can have a kid go on the other side of the fence and just climb on the fence and do that thing with the playing and hey, look at this. And of course the moms, they eat, was it cotton candies? Oh yeah, that's nice. Yeah. And yeah, so that's a pretty intense thing. So before, of course, the little boy falls into his near death, right? We have the bit where they're trying, he says, oh, everyone's holding hands, maybe we should hold hands too. And so here's my hand, Clark, hold it. And right, and then she says, they're afraid to let go. They go right to the lawyers or something. So and this, of course, it's the moment where she offers to clean his glasses. He takes off his glass. She takes off his glass, much to his chagrin. And she knows this for a little moment, right? Oh. Son, be careful, right? So that moment, so there's a little bit of a dun, 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 dun. We had a little bit of that at the end of Superman the movie, right? But she wasn't quite there. Maybe that will be picked up again, but not before, right? This big moment with the little boy doing the, hey, Mom, look at this. Look at I love that shirt that the little boy wears, by the way. It's a kind of the reddish shirt. I love that shirt. It's really cool. And so he falls. Oh, right. The boy's falling. Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. Help. Way to go, Superman. Oh, of course. Right. Again. Oh no, I'm sorry. The one right per customer. Oh, and then she flies off. So and then the mom is really angry. Oh, you're gonna get. Oh, you bastard! Oh, I'm gonna get. Right, so she's very angry. Not that. Like, she's happy that he's alive. I guess he is. She is at the in her heart of hearts. But I guess as a mom, you have to be angry at the kid for doing that. You should never do that again. Don't ever do that, kids. Right? Don't ever do that. But what was I saying? Yes, but of course Lois now, right? She's sort of saying. Well, first of all, there's other thing too. Where's Jimmy Olsen when you need, because he's the one taking the pictures, right? So interestingly enough, you don't see Jimmy Olsen until the latter half of this film. But when during the Battle of Metropolis scene. I think that's the only time when he appears, actually, Jimmy Olsen. That's to be perfectly honest. But um, what was I saying? So Margot Kidder, yes, and so she starts to put two things together, right? Because she wants to say hi to Superman, and so, oh, it's me, Lois Lane, and she's disappointed. Hello and goodbye, right? Maybe I don't know if that's a Beatles reference, right? Richard Lester and the Beatles, of course. Hello, goodbye, but uh, uh, yeah, and then she's you just happen to be in Niagara Falls, and Clark is not around as usual. Oh, now the wheels are turning here. What's going on? And where were you? Right, I was just getting hot. Oh, Superman! Oh, Superman is here. I like the bit where Clark just golly, he looks up at the sky. Oh my goodness, golly. Uh, oh yeah, he's talk about someone who's trying to get out of like a little white lie. You know what I mean? It's those little details. Like if someone's caught in a little white lie, or they're trying not to get caught, they kind of overdo it a bit. That's Clark overdoing it a little bit. Oh wait, Superman, he was here. Golly. You know, he could have stopped it at Superman, but that little extra bit with him looking up at the sky, I think just overdoing it just a little bit. But anyway, I love that detail. And he says, "Oh, forgot the orange juice. No orange juice, right?" And then right, and then of course we have this begins the sort of intercutting between the Clark Lois sequence scenes and the Zod Ursa non scenes as they're landing. At first in the lake and the rising of the Zod in the water. I mean, there have been great discussions and interpretations of the Superman myth and the Superman story as the story of with regard to Jesus Christ. And so talking about this idea of religious allusion or religious reference, and walking on water. A very interesting sequence here with the landing in the little pond or lake there, and then walking on the water of Zod and walking toward, which is a very interesting super. You're seeing a lot of interesting superpowers on display in this film, Superman 2. And then the snake, and I love Ursa. Oh gosh, just a primitive sort of life form, and the snake just let me go. I just want to get on with my life. Oh, let me go, Ursa, let me go. He just drops, but oh, poor snake, just those laser beams are just burn. Oh, right. You see, I have powers beyond reason here. And then Zod, we all have them, my dear. And so we have, as I said, the non thing here. So here's I did my non. I'll do the non thing a little later with the siren. He pulls it off because it reminded while he's irritated with the sound, Zod is, of course, he likes the glow of the siren, which reminds him of the red sun of the planet Krypton. And I think that prompts Non at the end of that scene when they're confronted by Clifton James and oh, just checking the tire here, and the gun, right? And he pulls off. Non does the siren. So here's my Non. So if this is a siren, so that's the bit there with that. So here's my do you know what that is? Do you know what that is? That's the non-sound that you get when he's flying, trying to chase after Superman in the Battle of Metropolis there, and Superman flies up, and Non is about to go, so that's my non-sound. And then come on, kill him! Superman! I'm going over there, and then he crashes into the side there, right? And then Louise says to Lois, "Oh, big one is just as strong as Superman." Oh, sorry. All right. What was I saying? Oh, yes. I'm sorry here. One other thing before I go to the chat, which is right now, Lois reveals, right, that she suspects, or she thinks that Clark's indeed Superman. What's your hurry, Superman? Huh? And she truly believes, she so believes that he is Superman that she's willing to bet her life on it. You think that I'm Superman? oh, I don't know, Superman, I won't buy that. Oh, and she throws herself into the water. Oh, oh my God. Help, help, Superman, right? And so Clark is just, what can he do? He doesn't want to reveal himself, but he can't let Lois die there, so he can't let her drown. So just, oh, oh, grab the bench, right? And then, oh, what? Grab the wrench. And then I love the bit here when she finds a little clearing there, and a little calm area there, and uh, Clark tries to help her, and Clark falls over, and she's, oh, Clark. That's great. I thought the bit earlier when he was looking up in the sky, that was overdoing it, but this bit when he falls over, that's perfect way to solidify. Oh, this is really embarrassing, right? But then that leads to the scene a little bit later where they're back in the pink polyester bridal suite, and right, they're talking about, oh, Jesus, I was waiting for Mr. Wonderful. Oh, embarrassing. So, and like, and her comb. Not only have I lost my mind, I've lost my comb. Can you pass me the hairbrush there? Oh, yes, sure. Talk about that bear head. Oh, being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Boom. But maybe Clark, as he says, or Superman says, he didn't mean to do it. And as Lois posits, maybe you didn't want to with your mind, but maybe you wanted to with your heart. So maybe there was some kind of instinct or intuition, who knows, that maybe let Clark do what it was that he did, which is trip over the thing. He falls, his hand gets cut, right, the glasses, and his hand gets caught in the fire. And no, let me look at it. And I love for some reason, the close up on the hand, the palm of his hand as Lois looks at it, and the music. For some reason, that always stuck out to me as a kid. That shot, something about the way that his hand looked, the palm of his hand looked. It was just, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just you see these characters on screen and you just see they're larger than life, and it's like the magic of cinema. But when you see something like the close up of the palm of the hand, you realize, oh, it's a reminder of that these are human beings, right? These are everyday people just playing. They are acting out, and so that makes it even more, I don't know, accessible for some reason. But anyway, I thought that shot of the hand, you are some, oh no. And of course, he knows the game is up, so he does the thing where he turns around and he kind of transforms again. Very similar to the transformation scene that we saw in the Superman the movie, when he's about to tell Lois his identity, but he decides against it at the last minute. This is where they have to have a talk about what's happening, because we have to talk. And she says, I'm in love with you. And he says, well, we really got to talk. And Pear's going to be calling to ask what's happening. And she says, what's happening? That's the understatement of the world. So this is where he invites her, right? Why don't you come over to my place? And so this begins the sequence. While all the chaos is going on one side of the world with Zod, and the town, and the destruction of the town, and the arm wrestling, and and what's his name, Boo and Willie and Jody, and all these people in the town there, right? Well, all that chaos is going on, and right, Lois and Clark and now Superman are now on their way towards the Fortress of Solitude. With the one sequence they're flying, and it's a romantic, "Can you read my mind" song, or the music as they go into the Fortress of Solitude, and then they have their essentially date and their private moments, while at the same time all the chaos is happening on the other side of the world. But before we get to that and other things too, uh, um, and then of course that I have to mention that bed that is in the Fortress of Solitude with those silver sheets and the silver. Everything is silver. It's like lit. It's like, I always thought when I was a kid, I always thought that was they were sleeping in like tin foil or aluminum foil wrap, which I thought, if that's really tin foil, that must be really uncomfortable and cold. But apparently, it must be very warm, so uncomfortable indeed. So, in any event, let's see here. Talk about the upholstery in the Fortress of Solitude and the sheets and all this. It's very cool indeed. Okay, let's see. All right, go to the live chat here. Yes, Gizmorder says another Bond link is, of course, Clifton James as Sheriff Pepper. Yes. It's interesting to imagine Sheriff Pepper. Yes, here he has. It would be interesting to Sheriff Pepper versus General Zod. Could you imagine that? Um, wow, who'd win in that battle? Could you imagine? Wow. I know you, right? He'd say, and General Zod's like, oh no, he says like, uh, you're that super criminal, that English super criminal from England, because he has an English accent, so he thinks that he's English or something. But anyway, but no, he's Kryptonian. But yeah. Could you imagine General Zod? General Zod got that look right after Non has ripped off the siren. General Zod has that. Right. So he probably has that when Sheriff Pepper's talking to him. Wow, could you imagine Sheriff Pepper versus General Zod? Who would win? I think it would be a good fight, actually. I think a really good fight. Um, right, I love it. JW, where are you? That's one of the great questions, great existential questions of James Bond universe. Where are you? Indeed. Um, scrolling down. She says the villain's costume is so much better than the Superman's outfit. Oh, it's interesting. Yeah. Um, and a very, very memorable fashion sense. That's for sure. Marco is here. Hello, Marco. I like both versions of the movie. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yes. She says I wear an updated version of Ursa's outfit when I go clubbing. Oh, very cool. Very cool indeed. Um, let's see. Gizmorder says the rude, sarcastic bellboy at the honeymoon hotel is pretty funny. Yeah, yeah. Um, Clark says, I was curious how quickly Lois Lane got to France from America. I think Perry White mentions he put her on the first Concorde out of there. So the Concorde, I think that's what it was. Um, let's see. Scrolling down here. Yes. Otisburg is a cool place. Thanks for all the. If there's an opportunity to live in Otisburg, that's for sure. Yes. Um, Cooper Clever's 1972 asks, why is Lex Luthor so forgiving of Miss Tessmacher if she freed Superman in the first film? That's a good question. I think the Miss Tessmacher Luthor relationship is one of the most fascinating ones. It's like a kind of love-hate relationship, but you can still see that Miss Tessmacher has feelings for Lex, and Lex does have feelings for Miss Tessmacher. So it there is that. It does have that love-hate relationship. And Lex Luthor, at the end of the day, I mean, he's a super villain, that's for sure. But in an interesting way, he does have he has a humanity at his core. You know what I mean? So even if someone makes a mistake around him, he'll be angry, but he will still kind of forgive them at the end. You know what I mean? Think about Otis and all the things that he did in the first film in particular, but she was still around for him, and Otis and Lex was still with him. And so I would assume that type of feeling or similar sentiment, excuse me, maybe that similar sentiment might be part of the relationship between Miss Tessmacher and Lex Luthor. But it's a great question, definitely a great question. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Cooper Glover talking about the connection between Godfather and Superman. Yes, Mario Puzo connection also. First from Marlon Brando. Interestingly enough, of course, Marlon Brando and maybe his non-appearance in Superman 2 there might be interesting parallels between that and, of course, Godfather Part 2 as well. Yes, very interesting indeed. Right. Right. I made the reference to, but it's like General Zod is like Hyman Roth. And maybe Non and Ursa are very similar to, say, like, I don't know, maybe is Non like Johnny Ola? I'm not sure. Or maybe you could make the comparison between them and the Rosato brothers. I'm not sure. So that means who would be Superman would be Michael Corleone, and I don't know who would be Frank Pentangeli in the Superman 2 universe. I'm not sure. Maybe it would be Perry White is Frank Pentangeli. I'm not sure. That's why, right? So when Perry White has got that's interesting. Yeah, so maybe when Non grabs Perry White and shoves him up the ceiling there, that's kind of not so dissimilar to the scene. I don't want to go into too much detail, right, between the Rosado brothers and Frank Pentangelo. But anyway, yeah, the connections I think abound. Very fun to think about Superman and Godfather. Kaiser Sose is here. Hello, it's nice to see you. Oh, yes, you mentioned Life Force. Yes, I know I wasn't going to speak too much about other films, but I love the music to Life Force. I love that theme. Dun, 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 dun. I love that theme. It's so cool. Yes, and Gizmodo with the Superman reference to Life Force. Well done. Oh, well done. Superman 4. Fantastic. Yes. I love Superman 4, by the way. I saw it in the theater. It's great. Uh, all right. The Man of Steel. Boy, you're gonna get it. Ah, yes, it's great. Yes. Yes, she says I preferred Conan the Barbarian than just I think they're two separate. I think they're two distinct beasts of films. So let's see. Castellar Garcia is here. Hello, you say Zod. Excuse me, I made this right. The same thing with E.G. Marshall and Terrence Stamp there, but Zod was a great villain. Yes, it's definitely the case. Definitely the case. Although it's interesting because Zod as a villain. Actually, let me get to that's right. Thank you so much. So Zod is a villain. I mean, we see his he's a very megalomaniac, and he's got his devoted, essentially followers, really Ursa and Non at his side constantly and so loyally. There's never any sense of any friction or disloyalty or anything between and among them. It's just a tight unit. And that's where Zod's strength lies, because without the two of them, I think he would be quite weak. If you notice in a lot of the fights, Zod actually poses, I think, not such a great physical threat towards Superman. He's actually somewhat weak, physically speaking, and maybe somewhat incompetent in terms of his fighting. He's overly confident, which makes him maybe somewhat incompetent in a manner of speaking, which is why I think Superman bests him at the end of the day there. But without the assistance of Ursa, who has a way of maybe really being so loyal to Zod, and of course Non being this imposing threat, that is a really formidable combination indeed. So you see that at the bit with the attack on the town, the destruction of the town, and right, look, they need machines to fly. And then, what bravery! Be nice to them, my dear. Blow them a kiss. Wow, that was a there's a lot of breath blowing in this. So I don't know what your favorite breath blowing moment is. There's that scene with Ursa blowing them a kiss, right? The helicopter, boom! It's a very frightening moment, of course, the destruction of the helicopter, and then of course there's the bit where they're blowing the wind and the people of Metropolis. So you've got here's my Zod. Okay. Here's my Zod impression there of blowing. So you notice that his head is a little bit like in the middle there, like this. It's not in the center, but it's like this. So that's my Zod face when he's he's doing that with his super breath towards. And then here's my I can't do Non very well because his lips are so red at that moment, but he's gonna. So that's my Non super breath face. And then here's my Superman super breath face, because at the Battle of Metropolis, there's the bit where Zod is up there in front of the sunscreen poster or something, and he's doing his super laser beams on the gas tank there. Oh no, it's gonna have glowing red, it's gonna explode. And of course, Superman does the thing with the mirror, the side mirror, and does the reflection. Whoa! And everything's burnt to a crisp behind him. And he stands back, he takes a step back, and then Christopher Reeve does the super breath. And you hear this big da 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 da. I love the bit when at the da 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 at that moment when he says right. Oh, I love that little sound that he makes when he finishes his super breath and everything is frozen. The super that's such a cool sound. But all right. What was I saying? What was I talking about? Oh yeah, so the yeah, that's my uh that's my shorthand way of talking about the scene where they're destroying the town, and they've sort of shown their control and utter contempt for humanity. And Boo and Jody and Willie, as I mentioned, and Willie is Jody's son, I think. So anyway, I don't know what happened to Jody, if he's alive or dead. I'm not sure. I hope he's still alive, but in any event, for Willie's sake. But while this is happening, of course, we have the moment, the intimacy between. Well, first of all, the dinner between Lois and Superman, and no orange juice but champagne. And another superpower, he's able to open a bottle of champagne with some power. I'm not sure. Boom. And then there's talk about. There's an interesting discussion here about the relationship between Clark Kent and Superman, and Lois Lane shows confusion here, but like, he is you. I don't understand. And so there's a thing about maybe they're separate, but they're the same. Here's a distinction again from Superman's perspective. He seems to discuss Clark in the third person. And so they are, but they aren't. And we might get some more exploration of this concept of their identities when we get to the third film. Because at the end of the credits, or the beginning of the end credits here, what does he say? Coming soon, Superman 3. And indeed, for this live stream discussion, coming soon, a discussion on Superman 3, which is a great film, by the way. Excuse me, maybe you're hearing my stomach rumbling. I haven't had breakfast yet, so I apologize. But let's see. Yes, so we get a little bit of that Clark Kent Superman dynamic, just a little bit. It may be explored even further, because a little bit later we have the scene between Kal-El and Laura, the mother, in this image or recording, the crystal recording. It's an actual discussion between mother and son. And here we have the point, which I think is being implied here, which is Superman and Lois Lane are in love with each other, and they're very much in love with each other. And I think they've reached the point where they are so much in love that it's an emotional love. It's also something where they want to express themselves physically. The consummation of their love and their feelings towards each other, which is a very natural feeling to have, and the attraction that they have towards each other. But it seems like before they're able to consummate their relationship in a physical way, it seems like there's this final moment between mother and son, and mother is telling her son that in order to, if he really wants to be with Lois Lane, then he has to become what she says to be an ordinary man. And she says that if you want to be an ordinary man, you have to understand that you can be hurt like an ordinary man. And so this brings up the whole point about the crystal chamber, which has harnessed the red sun of Krypton. And once he's exposed to those red sun rays within this crystal chamber, he will lose his powers. Because as Zod reminded us earlier in the film, it is the exposure to the sun, to the Earth's sun, that causes their molecular density makeup to bestow upon them what he says unlimited powers. But with the exposure of the red sun rays of Krypton, they will lose their powers. This is a very important plot point, as we know later on. It's also an important plot point here. And he says, and this is where Laura makes the final appeal to her son. He comes out in that, I think, very emotional moment. Oh, my son. And the echo of her voice is gone. It's just a directness of her voice as well. And she reaches out her hand. She says, oh, my son, are you sure? And I love the line, right? And he says, Mother, I love her. And then you see Lois as she's watching, she closes her eyes, and just this is the moment of truth, right? And then the mother disappears as he enters into the chamber, which is a creepy scene, by the way. You know, the thing with the fire and the flames and the melting of the face and all this stuff. It's pretty creepy, and of course this is meant, and we see the fade of the Superman image go down as the white shirted Clark Kent appears, or the Kal-El appears. I suppose it's Clark Kent and Kal-El, but I guess we can call him Kal-El or Clark. And then, of course, that means that they are off to this. I guess it's a giant. I mentioned this the silver lined. Is it a giant hammock? I think, or something. But anyway, so that's where they are now able to share a very intimate physical moment. While, of course, what's going to happen, my goodness. I hope at the end of the day, Superman was able to fix the Mount Rushmore. But anyway, wow, wow. And poor, what is it? What's the face that gets crumbled? Is it Abraham Lincoln? I think. But anyway, yeah, Mount Rushmore gets it. So that's pretty bad stuff indeed. So that's right. But yeah, it's really quite remarkable what they were able to do. And then, of course, while we have the intimate moment with Clark and Lois after they have indeed at long last consummated their relationship, the attack on the White House happens, and this is it's quite a violent ordeal with the last stand with the military and the gunfire and the outside of what you understand to be the Oval Office. There's a moment where Non presses the one of the pillars, and we see the ceiling almost fall, which I thought was another detail that always got to me. And just the way Zod's just the way he's just kind of not just standing still, but he's kind of going like this, just standing in place, almost moving as they're trying to shoot him with machine guns. He's just doing nothing, and so, of course, going in and boom, they go right into the Oval Office, and then we have all the people surrounding, flanking, the person sitting behind the president's desk there with the right. He says, right now, I see you are practiced in worshiping things that fly. Good. Rise before Zod. Now, kneel before Zod. And of course, Zod knows immediately that you are not the president. No one who leads so many would possibly kneel so quickly. And then, of course, we see in the background someone with this incredible head of hair. And of course, he reveals himself, this majestic hair. That is the president, E.G. Marshall. And of course, it's amazing. It's amazing. E.G. Marshall, and this is around the same time too. Well, this was in the late 70s, late 70s, released in 1980. And so, and his scenes, I'm assuming, were shot during the Richard Donner production period, right? So, right, the late 70s, and so, right, it's amazing to see E.G. Marshall. And just a few years later, for instance, I was speaking about it on a live stream, Creep Show. Anyone who knows the film Creep Show, and E.G. Marshall there, amazing. What's his name? Upson Pratt. Yeah. So, but this is really majestic. It's epic. It's really epic indeed, and he's standing firm. He says, of course, he's a really. This is the line that Gizmortar was talking about before, where he says, I will kneel before you, but there's one man on your earth who will never kneel before you. And then this is where Zahn said, "Who is this imbecile? Where is he?" And I wish I knew. Oh God! Oh God! Zot. Right. So, and then this will go into our sequence involving that diner and Rocky. And so we've got the moment here. I'll go to the live chat. Let me just get to this scene too. It's a very important scene too, right? With the Clark and Lois going to the diner. And then here we have Lois, who is, I think, we've seen, this is where Lois looks noticeably, Lois looks different, and so this is the bit where she looks like, this is the Richard Donner part of the footage. You can tell there's a slightly different look, and the lipstick is a little bit more pronounced, I would say. So this is Lois looking more like how she did in Superman the movie. So the diner sequence and Rocky coming in. And of course now Superman, or Clark, or Kal-El, or she calls him Clark, doesn't have any superpowers anymore, and so he is they're being essentially harassed by this guy, and it's unwelcome harassment. But then Clark tries to do something about it, but he sort of punches him from behind. That's a kind of really dirty-handed move that Rocky puts. He kind of punches him from behind when his back is turned. He forces him through the glass, and so he's my blood, right? And so I love Lois and how she's so caring for Clark here. He says, I just want the man I fell in love with. And I know, Lois, I wish he was here. And he just stands up and he's just so angry, but then he's leaving himself exposed, and he gets hit in the stomach against another attack, falls over. And Lois, to her great credit, she's just so angry and just, oh, right. I love sort of the way in which she's so much in love that she's just willing to protect the person that is being attacked. And Clark is, of course, just totally devastated here, and just, oh gosh. And then he says, Rocky says, I don't like your meat anyway. But I guess he likes it enough because he'll be back at the diner again at the later part of this film. In any event, I loved also the bit where she's being held back. And he says, I don't like your meat anyway. And she's got the little final, that kick. I would feel the same way if I was Lois. I would just going to let me go, let me get at Rocky here. But anyway, she goes, and then they take care of Clark, just recovering, and he's bleeding and all this. And she's all just, that's all over. You just turn the box on, just to make a nice pot of coffee. And of course, we have the footage with the news broadcast. Now the entire world is under the control and domain of General Zod. Oh, talk about, when it rains, it pours. When you get bad news, you just, do you feel that way too? I sometimes get, if I get bad news, I get bad news from all sorts. It doesn't just come in little drips. It comes in like huge bursts. So talk about bad news, right? You get suddenly the understanding that, my goodness, Zod has taken over the world while he has been out and on his date with Lois Lane. So my goodness. So then, and not only that, while he was out on his date with Lois Lane, and while he decided to totally strip himself of all of his superpowers, my goodness, what terrible timing, right? But again, that's the drama of the film. And I like this moment too, because what this is he has reached his low point. And he has reached his low point. Why? Not because of, say, something that the villain has done to him, but rather he has reached his low point because of the consequences of a choice that he himself made. Now, of course, there are external circumstances that maybe aggravated such results, such as the appearance of Zod. And as Lois says, there was no way you could have known that this was going to happen. Of course, Clark retorts, and he says, they knew. I heard him. I just didn't listen. So this is but what I love here is he reaches his low point because of the consequences of his choice, which I think is a really a deep moment. And it shows, and I think this is also present in both versions, but I think it shows that this is a very psychologically complex film. If if we were taking it in terms of an action film trajectory, it would be, I think, one thing to see that it would be the villain, and the villain and the superhero meet in, say, round one of the film, and the round one result is that the villain wins and the superhero loses and retreats because he's been badly beaten, only to return again for round two, and this time the tables are turned and that sort of thing. So but here it's Superman. They don't even have a round one yet, and Superman is already, or Clark Kent or Kal-El has already had his low point, which is, I think, really a remarkable thing. It's like the parallel fall of Kal-El, while at the same time the parallel rise of Zod or Sanad. So great stuff, great parallelisms there. This leads to that sequence of Clark needing to go trek the snowy terrain of the North Pole, I guess, alone, which is pretty intense. And gosh, not even getting the driver to stop. Oh my goodness. Oh man, and just what does he have to sustain himself? But he has to eat snow to oh my goodness, talk about a low point. My goodness. Anyway, um, yeah, and he finally goes into the now destroyed. I forgot to mention, right? Not because of his choice too. Everything was destroyed in the Fortress of Solitude. Now it's destroyed and nothing and barren and cold and dark. Nothing, right? He tries to reach out to his father, but he says, "I failed." He screams, "Father!" And I love the bit too when it's all is lost. There's no hope, and he kicks the little bit of debris at that moment, and then he sees something glowing. Right. I forgot to mention this too because another thing that Lois and Clark talked about, or Lois and Superman talked about earlier, was he was talking about in the Fortress of Solitude about how he was talking about when his father, his Earth father, died. He said that this crystal called him out, and it's talking about the green crystal. Of course, what does Lois do as she walks up? She I don't know if intentionally or not, she puts a piece of, I don't know, puts her something down and covers the green crystal. So maybe it protected the green crystal. Who knows? But now it's glowing. I don't know. I don't have the green crystal. What do I have that's okay, I have this uh, Godzilla figure, a plastic figure. So this is, let's pretend that this Godzilla figure is the green crystal. So I love the bit where you see the green crystal glowing and it's darkness and the music, da da na na, and he's got the na and his bloodied face, but he realizes that this is his destiny and this is his secret to return to the form of Superman that once was before he made his choice in the middle of the film. And I love the shot of the close up of the na na, and then what does that cut into, right? That those balls, those, and then non, right? Oh, sorry. Oh gosh. Oh, it's so great. Great. All right. And all right. So let's, before I go to the rest of them, let me talk to you in the chat here. Thank you so much, as always. I'm going to skip over some comments here just for the sake of time. I apologize, my dear friends, but all right, let's see. Okay. Oh, Cephalo Clyde is here. Hello, it's nice to see you. Todd Newby says one of my favorite scenes in the movie is when Superman appears to have been killed during during the battle in the streets of Metropolis, right? And an angry mob forms, and someone says, "Hey, they killed. Let's go get him!" I love the guy who says, "Let's go get him," and his kind of sports coat or jacket. Oh no! And there's, oh no! What are we gonna do? Let's go get him! Come on, man! Let's go! And I love, and right, this is the bus with the Evita thing, right? The bus, and it turns, right, because Nan and Nurse have picked up the bus. Here, take a hold of this. Oh, and then the lady and and then of course Callow's, no, don't do it. The people, and you see the guy trying to get out of the window there, and then of course Zod, right? Throw it, no. And then that sound of the guy in the bus as the bus is turning on its side, and you see the inside of the, it sounds almost like a cat, and he's just, I guess, right, I've never been in a bus that's overturning on its side before, so maybe if I was in the bus, I would make sounds that would be much more like panicked than the sound of a cat. So he's doing much better than I would. So, but anyway, it just sounds like a cat. I don't mean that in any offense to that character. So, and of course, Superman's trying to stop it, but it crashes into the Marble van. Yeah, so that's the scene you're talking about, right? And, oh, let's go get him. They killed Superman, right? Yeah, that's a great scene. Yeah. Oh no, what are we gonna do? Yes. Let's see here. Scrolling down. Oh, respective faces here. Yes, Christopher Reeve is the GOAT, greatest of all time. Yes, this box set is the motion picture anthology. It's the Blu-ray set motion picture anthology. It has open it up like this, and you can have the inside of it. So it goes in. It also has the benefit of having the a number of great special features. So I highly recommend it if you're able. Is this still in print? I'm not sure. I hope it is. I think it is. You should be able to get it without needing to go to any kind of what is it? Used or eBay sites, or you should be able to get it maybe new without any issue. I think. Xyrothers is sponsored by Marlboro, Timex, and Coca-Cola. Yes, a Timex watch. That's right. That is mentioned. It was featured quite prominently, especially in the first film. Timex clocks, and also I think Lois's watch. Please correct me, someone, if my detail is off here. But Lois's watch when she's 8 o'clock, right? Some friend, right? In the first film, I think that's a Timex watch as well. But in KFC, yes, you forgot your change. Oh, what sound? Yeah. And these fries are great. And then oh, my hair, your hair. What about mine? Yeah, I know that's a different couple, but yeah, okay. Zyrother says, this is OOP already? Is this out of print? Oh no, I hope it's, oh gosh, that's too bad if it's out of print. It's a really good set. But anyway, okay, what was I saying? So, where was I? So now we have, of course, the return. Well, before that too, Lex visits Zod and Ursa and Non. Of course, Ursa says, you're master of all you survey. And Zod now being bored. So when was yesterday? And the day before. And of course we have, oh gosh, I wish I had a white handkerchief. Right, Lex Luthor comes in and he makes the proposition, right? We have all this without you. You cannot bargain with what you don't have. And of course he brings the ultimate bargaining chip, right? What I'm offering you is what you do not have, the son of Jor-El. And he knows this idea of the son of Jor-El because of what he has been able to expose through his discovery of the Fortress of Solitude, of course. And so we have the son of Jor-El on this planet. Of course, we don't know. Zod has not been able to identify who this Superman is. I defy you, kneel before Zod. Zod! Right. And he said, so this is Superman. I love Ursa pushing Lex Luthor. How do you know of Jor-El? And of course, his idea, revenge. We will, right? Revenge. We will kill the son of our jailer. Revenge, right? And so I like and like when Zod says he flies. Then yes, he has powers as we do. Yes, but of course, he is but one, but you are three. And I love the not or four if you kind of voice. We'll bring him to his weight. Right. First, you have to find him. And old Lex Baby is the only one who knows where he is, right? And so this is the ultimate. He's got leverage over Zod here, and Zod is really, really peeved. Right? He's what? I love when he says, right, when he's on the doorway there. He says, "What do you want?" You can't even see his lips move. It's such a cool moment. I love Zod. He's great, and now he's got his feet on the desk there, and he's the world, right? And thankfully my needs are small. And he reminds us for his affinity for beachfront property. What do you want? Australia, right? So this is his play for real estate, which we remember from the first film, right? That's what his dad told him, right, about real estate, the continuing value of real estate. So it's great that detail is still there. But anyway, now we have right, the Metropolis, and I mentioned the Metropolis battle. Lois is now back in Metropolis, and now we have Jimmy Olsen there and Perry White, and of course, where's Superman? Where is he? He'll be here. Yes, and of course, Lois Lane knows Superman's plays better than anyone, and Lois, better than anyone. But of course, now we understand that Lex Luthor is bringing the three of them to Metropolis, and specifically to the Daily Planet, and then we have that moment where Non is just going berserk through the office, just destroying everything, which is wow, and that music, and that bit where the glass pane falls on Perry, Perry through, and we see Perry White's image as it falls, and the music goes da 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 da. Incidentally, I think in the not the Richard Donner shot footage, but the Richard Lester shot footage of Perry White's office, I think you can see in the back like a picture of Bill Cosby on the wall. It's really interesting. I think the moment where um, where right, the famous line of Zod, which is in the Richard Lester shot portion, where he said, right, "Come to me, son of Jor-El, kneel before Zod." You can see Bill Cosby's picture on the back there, so I don't know. It's very interesting. But anyway, I think it's Bill Cosby. Anyway, so that's what, and of course, it's not just kneel before Zod, right? So it just goes back. Right, one wonders if it had only Chancellor Valorum in the film Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, had only Chancellor Valorum said something similar to Jar Jar Binks upon their initial meeting. Maybe maybe the things of that we see unfold in episodes 1, 2, and 3 might have gone in a different direction. But in any event, one can only speculate, I suppose. But anyway, here we have. I'm also reminded of of um, uh, um, um, I haven't seen Clerks 3 yet, but I really like the film. Is anyone else out there a fan of the film Mallrats? So I will never. Again, I'll go back to Superman 2 in a minute, but just one thing about Mallrats: I will never look at a chocolate pretzel in the same way ever again. Let me put it that way. So, all right. So, Ethan is here. It's nice to see you. Thanks for stopping by. What was I saying? Oh yeah. So of course, going back to the Battle of Metropolis, this is the ultimate battle, right? Superman comes in, and of course, this General, would you care to step outside? And this is of course the line that was used when he was with Rocky, right? Or that's his name, Rocky, right? In the diner there. Is that his name? I hope I got that detail right. Is his name Rocky? Can someone let me know? That's gonna bug me. Am I right? Is his name Rocky? The bully who beats up Clark in the diner the first time. Someone let me know. I hope I got that detail right. I usually get things wrong. So, all right. So then we have the fight that ensues. I love how it's there are many different aspects of the fight. It's flying, and it's the son of Jor-El. We were beginning to think you were a coward, and I'm not a coward, Zod. And okay. Right. Ursa said, "Let him prove it." Right. And Ursa's got that. I love her flying stance. She's not flying like horizontally. She's kind of flying vertically. Going like this. Let him prove. That's so cool. And of course, Non with the. So lots of non-action here going on. So there's that one. How about this? What part of the fight is this part? Can you guess by the non-sound? What part of the fight is it? Right? Can any guesses there? Right? Okay. And answer is the part when he puts the little thing, whatever is the top of the building back onto the top there, and Ursa says he's caged, Non. Right after, right, the thing falls. Right after Non was catapulted into it, basically, and the thing falls, and right, the lady at the bottom, my baby, oh my baby, oh my baby, all right, oh gosh, thank you, and then right, Christopher Reeve, that great smile, Christopher Reeve smiles, it's can't be beat, it's amazing. This Superman, it's nothing of a. I've discovered yes, he cares for these Earth people like pets. Sentimental idiot. And then here's another bit. Here's another nod. It's great. Right, there's the fight on the top of the car, right, with Zod and Superman. And then, of course, Zod, he's not a physical threat when he's fighting Superman, because Superman can pretty much subdue him quite easily. And he does the thing with the turn, and everyone's laughing like, bye bye Coca-Cola, right? It reminds me of the line in Doctor Strange that you're gonna have to answer to the Coca-Cola company, Zod, right? You're gonna have to answer to the Coca-Cola company. Boom, da-da-da. And then, could you imagine talk about crossovers. We mentioned Sheriff Pepper and Zod. Could you imagine Doctor Strangelove versus General Zod? Who would win in a battle of wits? I wonder. But anyway, never thought this thing would go the distance, right? According to Lex Luthor as he's sitting there. And the bit I forgot to mention too. There's more non-action when Crush goes to earlier in the fight when he goes and from above, right? And here's the bit with, that's Christopher, that's Superman, right? You know that bit, right? Right, so that's more non. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. So you know that part of the fight when everything they're fighting underground. So, but that's fun stuff. That's fun. Good times. Good times. But of course, we have the ultimate conclusion, and I mentioned too the super breath of the people, and because they think Superman. Oh, they killed Superman. And of course, Superman is not dead. He returns as he sees that the fight can only lead to more destruction and perhaps more loss or potential loss of life or damage or injury, which he wants to avoid. Remember the bit at the beginning when Zod throws that piece of, I guess, concrete, and then die as you deserve to, and Superman can only destroy the thing with his laser beam eyes. But when he destroys it, and he sees there's a bit when you see him goes like, ah, you know. So he understands that this can be very costly. So, incidentally, that thing that Zod throws at Superman at first, with the little holes there, which I think are meant to be windows, spaces for windows, that always reminded me, for some reason, of what are those machines called? Do you know? Anyone know the film Tron? There's a thing. There are those big machines that have like legs on them with like giant triangles. It always that thing that Zod threw at Superman always reminded me for some reason of those things that you see in Tron. But anyway, what was I saying? What was I saying? Oh yeah. So now, of course, Superman decides he has to leave. He has to retreat, and that scene after, right, where Zod is a, and so he is a coward after all. You know, and I love also Ursa's also so happy, and she's looking at Zod, and she's happy too, and he's happy that they won, and they consider this a victory. Recognizers, Zyroth, always with the Tron catches. Thank you very much, my dear friend. Thank you. And so, so I'm well done with that great catch, right? Yes, no, that's my terrible bit impression. So maybe we'll have to do a Tron. I know we talked about Zarathustra, you know, about the possibility of a Tron live stream. But anyway, we'll talk about that there too. But anyway, what was I saying? What was I? Oh yeah, so Superman didn't even do it. Oh, let's go. Right, Superman didn't do it. Well, gosh, where have you been for the last 5 minutes? Gosh, anyway, Superman knows this, so he has to go. And I love the guy. He's like, dun, dun, dun. And then the lady, don't leave us. And then, of course, the flight. I love that shot, which I think is, again, the Richard Donner footage, and then of the POV of the three of them returning to the destroyed or half-destroyed Perry White office. No, Jimmy, the son of Jor-El has fled. Superman fled. I don't believe you. The next time we will kill. The next time. The next time. The next time. Oh, yield. It's not even close out of town. I love the. And you get a little bit of the the Donner footage, Richard Lester footage, kind of mixed in here a lot. But anyway, why do you say this to me when you know I will kill you for it? Kill me. And I mentioned the scene before, so now this is the moment where they realize that Superman has retreated. The only place that he could have retreated is the Fortress of Solitude. And so they bring Lex Luthor and Lois Lane to the Fortress of Solitude for the final battle, and we'll get to that very intriguing final battle in the Fortress of Solitude. But before that, let us go to the live chat. All right. So, Gizmortar, amazing non. Thank you so much. Yes, non is amazing. Non is absolutely. Let me say that in this version of Superman 2, when I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself here, but in this version, remember when the red sun rays of Krypton are turned on and the red lights are all outside while Superman is inside the chamber being protected? And Ursa has her hand around the throat of Lois, who's crying. She realizes this is the end. And Zod is looking on intensely. Who's looking about? Like, what? Like, why are these lights on out here? What's going on? Lex Luthor and Non. So, in fact, Non is not this kind of mindless thug. He's actually thinking. And in fact, he perhaps realizes that something is happening. To borrow a line from Ursa earlier in the film, something is happening. He's thinking while the other two are just looking on, just realize, oh, we've won, mistakenly realize. So good for Non. Well, maybe a little bit too late. Maybe he should have said, or maybe done to say like, guys, look, we got to get out of here because we're being exposed by the red sun of Krypton. What are you talking about? Don't look on him. Oh well. Well, but anyway, Non is one of the great characters. I love Non. Oh gosh. Jacko, how great, and so many stories too, apparently, about the behind the scenes. Just great stuff. Great. If you can find interviews with him about, and he talks about Superman too, fascinating stuff. So fascinating. But so anyway, yes, we go where we go. Yes. JA 1969 here. It's nice to see you. Let's see. You ask about if there's a film cut with both 1 and 2 joined together. What are you talking about? Like an extended version, maybe on TV? I'm not sure. Red Sun says, "Have you seen the animated series?" Which version are you referring to? I know there are a number of animated series that have been out there, but I've seen my share. That's for sure. Thanks for joining, by the way. Thank you. Kevin H, hello, my dear friends. Nice to see you. Nice to see you. All right, so let's see. So now we have, again, the final battle in the Fortress of Solitude. And again, much like the Battle of Metropolis, we had different parts going on here. And so different parts of the fight, although this is much more surreal and abstract, because again, we've had a lot of the physical and a lot of the action-y type of set pieces and sequences in the Battle for Metropolis fight. That was round 1, and here we have round 2, arguably. Excuse me. So round 2 is much more, I don't know, surreal or abstract or cerebral. I'm not sure if that's that we can say that, but right. So the first attack is when Zod essentially insults the Fortress of Solitude. Scruffy. Oh. Gosh, what a real insulting word that is to describe it this way. Scruffy, so morbid, a sentimental replica of a place long since vanished. There's no style at all. And of course, Christopher Reeve, Superman, steps in that great gallant way, which is, I expect better manners from my guests, Zod. Oh, exactly. Exactly. That's, gosh. That's exactly how I feel whenever someone comes, say, to my Instagram account or Facebook account and puts like a real insulting message on my private account. Is I expect better manners. If you don't like it, just go somewhere else. So, but anyway, yeah. And then of course, what we have is we have the Non doing and what do you have? I mentioned it for the giant plastic S, and Non is just and of course I mentioned we must combine our strengths. I mentioned that part earlier in the film in the discussion as well, and then and we see the three of them overcome. And Ursa is fallen for a moment, and then gives Lois the ability to kick her off the little platform there. And fools, take him! So Zod is having a little tantrum here, but then Ursa recovers, and of course we have the little shoo, 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 sheep, sheep, shoo, wah, wah. That part of the fight, right? And then the kick. Oh, what? And then, of course, Non, right? The bit when he flies into the wall there. And used to play this game in school, never was any good. And then, Superman, I knew that. Huh? And then, of course, Zod's like, yeah, this is wrong against. Release the general, or we'll tell. No, Superman. All right. Did you think that the adventure? And it's like, it's all this weird stuff's going on. So God recovers, and of course the son of Jor-El will be my slave forever, right? And you destroy this place, and of course we have no more use for this. And then Lex Luthor's talking about Lex Luthor, and he says, kill him, kill me, Lex Luthor. Joe, you gave me nothing. I gave you Superman. Silence. And then you see Non push Lex Luthor towards Superman. You see Non do a little bit of he kind of goes like this, and he kind of hesitates. Maybe it was probably a little bit of a mistake or something on the part of it. But anyway, it's a kind of a cool moment. Non tries almost to say something to Lex Luthor, but he hesitates at the last moment while Lex Luthor and Superman are together. And it's like, Lex, listen, I need your help here. I want to try to get him into this molecule chamber here, see? Because it takes away all their powers. All right, okay. So good on Superman for doing this thing. Although, right, upon rewatch, it might seem a little bit too obvious, but they fall for it, right? Don't go in, listen, Luthor, poisonous sake. It's a molecule chamber. It makes people like you turn into people like you've done well, Lex Luthor. Jim, the crystal there activates the mechanism. That's my very bad Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor, ruler of Australia, activate the machine. Oh, and that's my impression of Gene Hackman being carried by Non to the console. Or whatever. I don't know if it's Gene Hackman or not. Maybe it's another. I don't know, but it's Lex Luthor. With your permission. No. And of course, I mentioned it too. They goes in and the red lights are out there, and everyone is intent on Kal-El inside, except, right, there's a little bit of that look by Lex Luthor, and there's a little bit of look by Non, and of course, right, emerges, and like Superman does the little acting here. He could have come out and just come out with arms swinging, but he milks it for all it's worth. You know what I mean? So he's kind of got a little bit of a kind of a vindictive streak there, arguably Kal-El. But I guess not surprising because of all of the stuff that's happened, and he's just gotta just wait 1 minute. It's perfect. So now, and I mentioned finally, and I love Terrence Stamp's eye line. He's not even looking at Kal-El. He's just looking in the distance. He's like, take the stand right. I guess it's this. Take my hand and swear eternal loyalty to Zod. And then, and I did it before. I'll do it again. Here's my Zod impression for the last one when his hand is getting crushed. Okay. I like the parallel because as he's giving that, you hear the music, which is dun 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 dun. It's almost as though Zod is trying to sing the song, a Superman thing, as his hand is being crushed. It's like isn't that cool? Right? It's almost like he's trying to sing, and then right, and then right. For those keen-eyed viewers there, you'll see a little bit of perspiration in the underarm area of Superman there. But that's, of course, understandable. It's probably quite a hot, intense moment, and perspiring is quite natural. But in any event, yes, Superman is just and he just throws him against the wall, and he falls into the white mist. And here's one final Non-impression. It sounds almost like, is there anyone a fan of the Muppets? The Muppets, I love the Muppets, and one of my favorite is Gonzo. So Gonzo has this very, very, very noticeable sound to his voice. It has a lot of it comes from kind of the throat area, So that moment where Non falls, I don't know if I guess it's. Well, I guess we don't know. We might assume, without knowing further information about what we might see in, say, extended scenes or deleted sequence, that it could be to his doom. But in any event, yes. And of course, Lex Luthor puts two and two together. He switches. Lights are on it here. Well, he was safe in there. And Lois, right, with the bit which is a return of a thing that she did earlier, which is, she tried to punch Ursa, and she earlier in the Daily Planet office, oh, right. So that part, and now she gets her just desserts, right? Because you know something, you're a real pain in the neck. Right. Now it's back, and now right it becomes now Richard Lester, Lois Lane. But then, and then I love the moment where Superman says, "Are you all right?" And it reminds me of, I love that line. It's such a lovely line. It reminds me of the line. There's a film called Rocky, with Sylvester Stallone, Talia Shire, and there's a moment, Adrian and Rocky, and there's a moment, a very important moment in that film. But the first thing that Rocky says to Adrian in that very important moment, he says to her, "Where's your hat?" I get the same chills when I hear this line of Superman's, "Are you all right?" And then she said, "Mm-hmm." And he says, "I knew you'd double cross me, Luthor. A lying weasel like you wouldn't resist a chance." He said, "Are you kidding? I was with you all the time. Did you say I fell in our trap? Ah, too late, Luthor. Too late." He's got a proposition. On proposition for we're in the North. Let's wipe the slate clean. If you give me right back, I'll turn a whole new leaf. So you think Lex Luthor is still there in the North Pole? Wow, my goodness. All right, but anyway. And then of course the final shot of the nighttime skies. It's a really beautiful sequence, and flying. And she mentions, we hear the voices of them talking, and we understand that this is their final maybe discussion together, or they'll talk one more time. But of course, this is their goodbye. And she says, "I'll never let them know who you really are." And he says, "I know, Lois, I know." In that moment where she goes, she doesn't even look. And this is Richard Donner footage, right? She doesn't look. As she turns her back on him as she flies away, and then as he flies, she turns around, and you hear the voice as we leave her beautiful apartment. By the way, I have to say it again, beautiful. "See you later." Oh, it was the next day, and right, they have to talk one more time because they have to work together. And here she's just, "Will you stop? This is tearing me apart." It's just agony for her. And he realizes that this is not a sustainable situation. It's very emotionally difficult for her and for him, but especially for her. And she says, what can you do, right? Clark Kent, Superman, what can you do? And she's at the offices the next day. He said, "Just tell me you love me." And so they share a final kiss. This kiss, my goodness, what a kiss this is indeed. Because right, what do we see? The kiss that seems to have such an effect on Lois that she just forgets. She forgets things that have happened, right? As she asks Louine, "What's going on in the world? What's happening in the world?" And Louine's like, "Huh? All right, Lois. All right, I'm going this way." All right, so I don't know how you feel about the kiss. Of course, we know that there might have been different plans originally for how this film, Superman 2, might have ended. But here we have the kiss, which is, of course, the way in which Lois can now doesn't remember what happened what happened, and therefore we understand. Therefore, Lois now is back to the state where she doesn't know that Clark Kent and Superman are the same person. So isn't he a nice guy? Yeah, and then Clark Kent seems to have a kind of a look of relief, in a manner of speaking. So the story between Lois and Clark Kent will continue. Perhaps not. We shall see. And then, of course, the final denouement with the revenge on Rocky. After all the thing with the diner and the repairs, it cost the guy a fortune, and he shoves his face there, and he says, "Come and get it for it." Oh gosh. Everyone's like, and I love the guy at the counter with those sunglasses. That guy. Those sunglasses are really cool. It looks kind of like that guy looks almost like I know it's not the same actor, but it looks like what's his name? I forget his Dennis Weaver. In the film Duel, but anyway, it's walking towards right Rocky, and Rocky's just more hand action here. So we've got Lois punching Ursa in her hand, we've got Rocky in his hand, and we've got Zod and the crushing of his hand. So lots of hand action here. oh God, and then just oh, and then of course, right, this orders to go. Oh, and I love the guy at the end. He's not having it. He's gonna finish his meal. He's like, I don't care. I'm hungry. That's and of course, right. I'm terribly sorry about the damage. Oh, I've been, as someone said, I think it was good morning. I've been working out. And of course, the final cherry on top of right this ice cream sundae is the last epilogue moment with the recovery of the American flag, which is atop the dome of the White House, which was destroyed earlier in the film, or which was heavily damaged. Now we understand it's under repair. And right, this is the final statement of Superman, which is the statement which is our affirmation of his mission, and an understanding that he has abandoned his hopes of maybe having a kind of personal, intimate relationship with Lois Lane, and he affirms his mission statement here, which is, he talks to Mr. President. He says, "Sorry, I've been away so long. I won't let you down again." I'm paraphrasing. He looks up with the American flag waving behind him, and the music triumphantly returning. So this is his mission statement. So now we realize that Superman will be Superman in this form, as the film ends, and with that final shot, which is a reminder of what we saw, the same shot which ended the first film, which is like the kind of the James Bond gun barrel sequence that opens those James Bond films at the start. Here, this sequence opens at the end, which is lovely. He flies towards the sun, outside in space, the orbit of Earth. He flies down, and he kind of looks, and he's like, goes down, goes to the corner, looks like that, right? So I like that little moment, and kind of goes off into the diagonal space. Coming soon, Superman 3. That's it. That's the end. That's the great film. And that is Superman 2, directed by Richard Lester. So many things to say, and I don't think I did the film any justice, but let me see. You, my dear friends in the chat, have spoken about it with much more passion and much more specificity than I ever could. So well done, my dear friends, as always. Oh, Red Sun, thank you very much for answering my question about the 90s animes. Yes. And thank you so much. JA 1969, Michael Shannon's Generals. Oh, mentioning Michael Shannon, of course. Yes, there's another version. Yes, I understand. Let's see. Gizmortar says, if Lois had swung a punch at Rocky like the one she swings at Ursa, here he'd have gone down. Oh, interesting. Yes, interesting. Very interesting indeed. Yeah, it's amazing. Yes. Let's see. Gizmortar, thank you so much for the super chat. Wow, thank you. I'm very honored indeed. This will go very far in another Blu-ray purchase for me this month, or next month. So thank you so much. That's very, very helpful. And it's not necessary at all. There's no need to feel obligated to make any kind of super chat or monetary donation, but it is very much appreciated. Truly, thank you so much. Really, very appreciative. Thank you. Right, especially lately, because as I mentioned earlier, I have money in Japanese yen mostly, but the yen is weakening, and the dollar is rising, and so my spending power has weakened somewhat. So I have to cut down on some of my purchases. So thank you very much. This will be very. I was thinking, should I get that? Should I get the Arrow 4K release of Videodrome or not? So I've been on the fence for that, because again, I don't know if I'd be able to. I don't know if I have enough money in my monthly allowance to be able to cover that. So this will be very helpful in that. Thank you so much, Gizmortar. Thank you very much indeed, my dear friend. Thank you. Eric Pieper says, the shark in Jaws Revenge gave a similar revenge chant. Oh, okay. Thank you so much. Yes. All right. So what is it? It's 9:22 p.m. or not p.m. 9:22 a.m. Gosh, what am I saying right now? I have to leave at 9:30, so I have about 8 minutes left. So I am pretty much done with my discussion of this version of Superman 2. But as we know, next Sunday, October 16th, 7 a.m. Tokyo time, same time, same place, we'll be talking about the Richard Donner version. So it'll be more opportunity to revisit this world and revisit these characters. So it's not the end of the discussion, but we're just going to stop here for now and then pick it up in the context of the Richard Donner version. So um, I am looking forward to that. So it's not the end of this. We're going to talk more about Non, Ursa, and Zod, and so we'll have more to say about because and also of course the relationship between Clark and Lois and Superman and Lois, and that's a very big deal in that version. So and also the there's little details too that are the same but also different. For example, the Liberace record. What's up with the Liberace record in this version versus the version that we're going to see for next week, which is the Richard Donner cut? My goodness, it's these little differences that make it all the more fascinating. But in any event, yes. So any more comments? We have a little bit. We have about 6 or 7 minutes left. So the floor is yours. But again, I'm here until about 9:30. So if you want to say something, please, you're welcome to in the chat. Eric Pieper says, you can see the changes in the cast's hair and makeup between the Donner and Lester material in the Battle of Metropolis. That you can. Definitely. Yes, definitely. All right. Let's see. Okay. I think I'm at the end of the chat, so I think that's the last comment in the chat here. So any more comments, if you want to leave them, please feel free to do so. While I'm waiting for any more comments, let me say just in closing for today anyway, that I hope that I wasn't too, what's the phrase, scatterbrained in this discussion. If I was too much so, in terms of the temperament of this discussion, I apologize in advance. But I apologize for my discussion tenor. But in any event, yes, I really love this film. I really love this film. So, Eric Pieper. Oh, when Superman fights Non, it's a non-violent confrontation. That's very clever. Can I use that one? I'll credit you if that's very clever. I love that. I love that. Oh, it's Katarina. Yes, of course. Nietzsche and Superman reference. I noticed that you made it earlier. Yes. It's okay, Zareth. I don't mind. That's okay. You can. That's okay. I don't mind. Oh, okay. I don't mind. Anyway, yeah, that's fine. No. Katarina's yeah. That's yeah. Just I don't know if you can undo that or not, but that's okay. I know. Yeah. Sorry, Katarina. I think your message was removed by accident. No, please. No offense is taken. It's just completely accidental. I'm so sorry about that, Katarina. I did notice that reference, and you're absolutely right, my dear friend. Absolutely. Let's see. Mike Eli says, great discussion as always, my dear friend. I've actually never seen the Richard Donner version, so I'm looking forward to the next one. Yes, it's really fascinating indeed. So I'm very much looking forward to that chat as well. Very much looking forward to that chat. It should be fun times. And then after that, I'll schedule the Superman 3 discussion. I can't wait for Superman 3. I really can't wait for Superman 3. Oh, thank you, Mike Eli, with the follow up. Yes, on our dear friend Katarina. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, exactly. So Katarina, again, I apologize. I don't. Yeah. I hope no offense is taken. It wasn't meant to be deleted. So I hope if it can't be recovered again, please accept my deepest apologies. Really, I very much apologize for that. But no ill will at all meant. So let's see. Yes, that's right. Eric Pieper with the mentioning of Jeffrey Unsworth, but of course, Jeffrey Unsworth passed away before the Richard Lester footage, and also, of course, Richard Lester has his own crew. As we, if you heard about John Williams and why he probably wasn't on board for Superman 2, Robert Painter, and so and also what happened to John Barry, and so okay. Peter Merton, and so it's a very interesting, complex set of circumstances involving the production. So you can get all these details in a lot of the materials that are found online, or also with some of the supplemental materials. I just mentioning to Derek Meddings. Yes, thank you. Oh, Katarina, thank you so much. Next week was mon ami. Merci beaucoup, mon ami, pour votre considération. So oh gosh, pardonnez-moi, mais je ne peux pas français très bien. So all right. So let's see. I think that's it. I have about a minute left before I have to go. So, how should we end this? Let me end it with my non. I started my non impressions today with the non and the snake, and I'll end it with the snake. So once I here's my non and the burnt snake, which is, and of course later he's a. He got the laser beam. So that's non, and then we'll end two with Zod. We'll do the Zod as he's singing the Superman theme, and we'll end it there. So thank you very much, my dear friends. And I'll end with Zod singing Superman, and we'll see you next week talking about the Richard Donner cut. So, but anyway, thank you so much, my dear friends. I'll be seeing you. Warmest words. Have a great rest of your day, evening, afternoon, whatever the case may be for you, my dear friends. And we'll talk very soon. So thank you and cheers.